Julia Roberts. You won't believe this. Sometimes the most famous love stories don't happen on the big screen, but in the shadows behind it. And one of Hollywood's most iconic couples? Their secret stretched across decades. I'm talking about Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. For over 30 years, Julia carried a truth she never dared to admit publicly. She lived a double life, smiling for cameras while hiding a firestorm of emotions inside. A love that started with a single piece of paper during an audition and grew into one of the most whispered-about Hollywood affairs. Now, ask yourself, have you ever loved someone you could never truly have? That's exactly what happened here. And it all began in 1989. Julia Roberts was just 22, nervous, unknown, and desperate for a shot in Hollywood. She walked into a Beverly Hills audition for a new film called Pretty Woman. Across from her sat Richard Gere, already a massive star at 40. Calm, charming, untouchable. Director Gary Marshall wanted sparks, and Julia knew she had to make something happen. With trembling hands, she scribbled a note and slid it across the table. "Please say yes." Richard stared at it, then looked at her with a faint smile. "Okay, kid," he said. That one line sealed both of their fates. The movie became a worldwide phenomenon in 1990, over $400 million at the box office. Suddenly, Julia was America's sweetheart. Richard was back on top, and together they looked like a real-life fairy tale. Red carpets, interviews, adoring fans. It was like destiny had written their story. But behind the flashbulbs, something else was happening. The hand-holding, the kissing scenes, and the way he looked at her. It didn't stop when the director yelled, "Cut!" Julia found herself falling, even though she kept whispering, "It's just a job, it's just acting." But her heart knew better. The affair began quietly, hidden in hotel rooms, whispered phone calls, and late-night knocks on the door. Julia once said that Richard made her feel both completely safe and dangerously vulnerable. That paradox was addictive. By 1991, her career was exploding. She was engaged to actor Kiefer Sutherland in what the press called the wedding of the year. But 3 days before the ceremony, Julia ran. Headlines screamed "Runaway Bride." Years before that even became the title of her film. She was humiliated, hunted by paparazzi, mocked in tabloids. And who did she turn to? Richard. One night, he drove her to a quiet seaside cottage in California. She cried, telling him, "The whole world is laughing at me." Richard simply whispered, "You didn't run away. You ran toward the truth." That moment cemented them. But Hollywood never lets secrets stay hidden for long. In 1991, Richard shocked the world by marrying supermodel Cindy Crawford. Julia, still reeling, rushed into her own marriage with country singer Lyle Lovett in 1993. Neither marriage was built on love. They were distractions, shields against the gossip and the longing. But even then, Julia and Richard still found each other. They met in quiet hotels. They exchanged short notes and burned them to protect themselves. Julia admitted she sometimes sat in a glamorous hotel suite, staring at her wedding dress, and all she wanted was to call Richard. Even when the press exposed blurry photos of them slipping into the same building, Richard stayed calm and silent, while Julia broke down, furious at his quietness. That silence cut her deeper than any scandal. And still she couldn't let him go. In 1999, destiny struck again. Director Gary Marshall reunited them for Runaway Bride. 10 years after Pretty Woman, Julia and Richard were back in wedding clothes on screen. The world cheered the reunion. The movie raked in $300 million, and fans begged to know if the fairy tale was real. But for Julia, that film wasn't just another rom-com, it was a goodbye. When she kissed Richard in the final wedding scene, she later admitted it wasn't acting. She trembled, holding back tears, and Richard whispered something only she could hear, "I miss you." The cameras may have been rolling, but that was real. And yet, life doesn't give everyone their Hollywood ending. Richard went on to live a quieter life. He married again, had children later in life, and embraced peace away from the spotlight. Julia, meanwhile, built a family with cameraman Daniel Moder, a marriage that's lasted over 20 years and gave her 3 children. She chose stability, motherhood, and something real. But late at night, sitting by the waves of her Malibu home, Julia admits she still remembers Richard. The eyes, the whisper, the fire that never died. She calls it both a treasure and a scar, something beautiful, but cursed. So here's the question. Does love need to be lived in the open to be real? Or can a secret affair, hidden in the dark for decades, still burn just as true? Julia Roberts believes it can. And maybe that's why, no matter how we see Pretty Woman or Runaway Bride, we'll never watch them the same way again. If you made it this far, let me ask you, do you think Julia and Richard's love was fate or just temptation? Drop your thoughts below, and if you love stories of Hollywood's hidden lives, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Because sometimes, the real drama isn't on screen, it's what they never wanted us to know.